Hello to everyone. Myself Sridhar Reddy Mote, lecturer in EC from Government Institute of Electronics, Secunderabad. Today we are going to learn C16 scheme, Electronics and Video Engineering branch. So here 5305 is the subjective code and the subject name is Studio Theatre Acoustics. So in this subject we are already in second chapter, and some of the few topics which are covered in my last video, that is in part 5, are given in the list below here. So once again I am going to review these topics. After that I am going to start the today video lecture. Today's topic starts with the today's topic here. In the last class, we learned about human hearing mechanism and critical bone concept, auditory area, threshold of hearing, threshold of feeling, and threshold of pain. So first of all, what is the human hearing mechanism means? Generally, human ear mechanism, generally the ear is divided into three parts: outer part, middle part, and inner part. Outer part consists of pineal, outer ear canal, and eardrum. In middle ear consists of here in it consists of three parts. The first one is mm, hammer, the second one is anvil, third one is stirrup, and inner ear consists of cochlea, and it is connected to the nerve, and semicircular canals also presented in the inner ear parts. So generally sound is gathered from the outer ear part, and it will travel through the outer ear canal and reaches the eardrum. Whenever the sound is going to be incident on this eardrum, the eardrum is going to be vibrates corresponding to the sound. So when the eardrum is going to be vibrates, those vibrations are passed to the middle ear parts. Generally middle ear parts are nothing but here uh, stirrup, anvil, and hammer. All the parts are going to be vibrates. These vibrations means the eardrum vibrations are carried out by are simply transmitted through the middle ear and reaches to the inner ear parts. So here in the inner ear it consists of some air compressed chambers and fluid chambers are presented. So corresponding these vibrations are carried by these inner ear parts, and this fluid will generate impulses corresponding to these vibrations. So based on these impulses, output of inner ear is carried by the nerves. So means these nerves are generally connected to the brain. Means these nerves are carrying the impulse signals to the human brain. There, human brain is going to be decode these impulse responses, generally what we call as sound signal. So this is the way we are going to listen the sound. This is the hearing mechanism. After that we discussed about here critical bone concept and auditory area, threshold of hearing, and based on auditory area we define three parameters. So generally human ear auditable range is 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. So based on that we define the auditory area and what we call threshold of hearing, threshold of feeling, and pain we defined for by using these auditory area concepts. So these are the things I covered in my today's lecture. I'm going to cover the following topics here. So in today we are going to learn weighted sound levels or weighted functions. After that, we are going to learn noise induced hearing loss. After that, we are going to learn what is noise criteria and voice producing mechanisms. So, I am going to cover these four topics in today's video lecture. So, I think everybody following my video lecture. So, now I'm going to start with the today's topic, and that is weighted sound levels are weighted functions. So the simplest and most widely used measure of environment noise is a weighted sound level. So generally it is expressed by an alphabet TA, and is expressed this generally this weighted sound level is going to be measured in decibels at the rate of suffix of A. Here we are taking reference pressure level for this weighted sound level is 20 micropascals, and a weighting assigns to each frequency a weight that is relative to the sensitivity of the ear at that frequency. So this can be explained with the help of a table. Now the table below gives a weighted sound levels for some commonly encountered noises here. So means if you observe this table here, this table here this table uh, consists of some three columns. One is the serial number, the second one is a weighted sound level. So this generally this weighted sound level is going to be expressed in decibels A, and here A represents weighted function, and the third one is the source of noise. So here the third column represents the sound signal which is generated from the source of noises. So these are the source of noises. These are corresponding noise source output here expressed in decibels. So these are the serial numbers. If you see here, the first source of noise, that is when a disco or rock and roll band here generates a sound of here that weighting function generally 110 to 120 decibels it will generate. Similarly, suppose a jet fly is at a distance of 30, here at a distance of uh, 30 300 meters, then from the sound source and the distance between the sound source and the listener is 300 millimeters. The listener will hear the sound pressure level as 100 to 110 decibels. Similarly, the power mover or for light aircraft, it will generate sound pressure level as 90 to 100 dBs. And similarly, heavy truck which is traveling with 64 kilometer at hour at 15-meter distance, it will generate a sound pressure level of 80 to 90 decibels. And similarly, some car which is traveling for 100 kilometer per hour, and similarly washing machines, TV audio will generate a sound pressure level of 70 to 80 watts, 70 to 80 levels, decibels. Similarly, so like that, we have some different sources of noises, so which will generate the corresponding sound level, weighted sound levels we are assigned for these sources here like this. This is if you so means this is the way we are going to measure outside the sound noise levels here. Uh, After that, now I'm going to cover what is noise induced hearing loss. Here, noise induced hearing loss means when we hear, generally human ear is able to audible human ear audible sounds in the range of 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. Suppose some noises, extreme noises, if humans are try to listen those extreme sound noises, so our ear you may experience some pain. If even though if I increase the sound pressure or similar the sound source volume, then our noise are going to be damaged. So due to that, our human ears hearing loss is going to be occur. So that can be hearing loss can be induced in two ways. So before that, hearing loss is a quantified by specifying the permanent threshold shift as a function of frequency. Means If we experience, we already defined three parameters in the last class, that is threshold of feeling, threshold of pain, and here threshold of hearing. So if you see that if after threshold of pain, then even though increase the sound source level pressure, sound pressure level from the sound source, so our there is a chance of damaging our human ear. So means a permanent hearing loss may be occurred due to that sound source. So here that noise induced hearing loss generally is going to be occurred in two ways. One is trauma. The second one is chronic. See here, what is meant by trauma? Trauma is nothing but high sensitivity sound, such as that from an explosion or jet engine that can result or rupture the eardrum and also damage the oscills and destroy the sensory hair cells or cause collapse of a section of the organ of cort. Such hearing loss is sudden and is always associated with specific noise event. Means if we try to listen heavy sounds, so that can be those sounds are generally generated from explosions or from jet engines or some other high sound sources, so that can be leads to rupture of our eardrum. So means because generally the sound signal is first is going to be incident on eardrum. This eardrum is a tympanic membrane. So this due to heavy sound signals, this eardrum is going to be vibrates heavily, and there is a chance of rupturing inside of this ear. And also this eardrum connected to the middle ear parts, those are ossicles or small bones. Here there are three bones which are connected to the eardrum. So those are here anvil, stirrup, and hammer. So means when this eardrum is going to be ruptured, that causes finally damage to the these three bones, and so whatever attached to this middle ear means the inner ear parts also going to be destroy the destroys, means here it going to destroy the sensory hair cells. Means there is a chance of chance of collapse of a section of the organ of corti. So due to that, such hearing loss is sudden and is always associated with specific noise event. So that kind of loss generally we can call it as a trauma. So after that, we have another type of here noise loss or noise induced hearing loss. That is second one is chronic. Here in the chronic hearing loss means in these noise levels necessary to cause trauma, means if repeated often enough or continued for a long enough time can cause dysfunction or from metabolic stress or on the maximally stimulated cells. See here, this type of hearing loss is more dangerous than that of trauma because it increasing loss. If you means if suppose I'm trying to listen whatever sounds just before occur in trauma, before just below that levels, but those sounds are repeated repeatedly. I'm able to hear repeat hear those sound signals, means those sound signals are continuous for a long period of time. Here that can results maybe dysfunction or from metabolic stress on the maximally stimulated cells, means this can also lead to the dysfunction of the human ear, and also finally causes to the hearing loss. So generally this type of hearing loss is more dangerous than that of trauma, because in trauma suddenly the ears are going to be damaged, but in this chronic, we are trying to repeatedly hearing the heavy sounds, so that can lead to the stress, uh, and we feel pain repeatedly. After sometimes, then the ears are going to be damaged. So means this chronic is more dangerous compared to the trauma. In trauma, the only suddenly the hearing loss is going to be occurred, but whereas uh, in chronic, yeah, by listening heavy sound signals repeatedly, so this can be occurred. So I think everybody understood noise level, noise induced hearing losses. Then after that, we are going to the next topic, that is noise criteria. Here, what is noise criteria? The background noise that can be tolerated in audio room is generally called as noise criteria, because means suppose while recording a sound signals inside of a room, or suppose we are playing some sound inside of a room, so while background some noise is going to be generated that can be tolerated while playing or while recording these sound signals. So generally, that kind of signals, generally we can call it as noise criteria, that can be explained with here. The background noise has this background noise has no effect upon useful sound signals, because this cannot be interference with the original audio signal or original signals. So hence this noise is just below 25 dB below the speech level. For the best speech intelligibility, it is most important to minimize noise in the frequency range from 500 Hz to 4 kilohertz in small rooms. Suppose means the range frequency range between 500 Hz to 4 kilohertz inside of a room. If any background noise is presented, first we should minimize, because there is a chance of interference with the background noise with the original sound. So in that case, we should minimize this. So means here in rooms with reverberation time less than 1.5 second, the speech can be good with a signal to noise ratio of only 10 dBs. Means if the room size is small and the reverberation time inside of that room is assumed less than 1.7 1.5 seconds, so in that case, that's inside of the room having good signal, we are having a good signal to noise ratio, means the signal strength is very high and the noise level is very low, and it is a having of a plus 10 dB ratio. So if we maintain the reverberation time good, then in that conditions we can forget about these background noises. Suppose if you consider the room is a very large, especially where the reverberation time is exceeds 1.5 seconds. Now it is very important to maintain the minimum signal to noise ratio of 20 decibels. Means in that case only we should more concentrate about the background noises, so that can lead to the chance of interference with the original signals. So means we should maintain minimum signal to noise ratio of 20 decibels in a large areas. So just this kind of large rooms are nothing but studios or concert halls or cinema halls. There we should maintain a good signal to noise ratio and reverberation times. So here the below table shows recommended ground noise levels for variety of spaces. If you see this table consists of four columns. In the first column, it having serial number. Then in the second column, yeah, the parameter presented here is type of space. In the third column, we are denoted with recommended noise criteria score, and fourth one is a computed equivalent sound level meter readings. So in the in the serial number one, suppose I am taking a broadcast studios or studies. So the noise criteria for the recommended noise criteria is 15 to 25, but actually it will be maintained as 25 to 35. Similarly, the concert halls, the recommended noise criteria should be 20, but here computed equivalent sound level meter readings are general, it will denote as 30. So like that we are having different outer space regions and their equivalent noise criteria, recommended noise criteria levels, but actually measured levels are indicated in the fourth column. I think everybody understood this. There is a small difference between presented between the recommended versus actual measured values presented. So means we should maintain these levels for getting a quality of sound at the halls or the type of spaces. So the next topic is here is voice producing mechanism. How inside how humans are generating voices. So that can be explained with the help of a diagram here. So if you see this diagram shows a sectional view of head showing the important elements of voice mechanism. Assume this is a human. Here, these are the parts indicated with the arrow marks. So, generally, these parts, assume this is the mouth. So, this direction is mouth. So, these are the nasal cavities, and inside of these nasal cavities, some palate is presented. I assume this as a tongue, and generally air is going to be flows like this through the nasal cavities or through the mouth, and so these are the pharynx or pharynx. So the noise the air is going to be, so whatever take we are taken from nasal cavities or mouth, it will goes through the pharynx parts and through the larynx and reaches to the lungs. So, but while speaking any sound or words, so generally air comes out from the reverse direction. So this is for breathing, and while speaking, so generally air is going to be comes out from the vocal cords. First it will comes from the lungs and reaches to the larynx and through the vocal cords, and will reaches to the pharynx and reaches to the comes out from the mouth or mouth. So in this direction the airflow is going to be presented while speaking. Here the operation can be explained here as here generally the acoustic energy associated with speech originates in the chest diaphragm and stomach muscles, which by contraction force the air from the lungs up through the various components of vocal mechanism as shown in above figure. So it means the acoustic energy associated with speech originates in chest, means while we are trying to speak, our chest muscles and diaphragm and stomach muscles, which may lead to the contraction force, and the air from the lungs goes through the up through the various components of vocal mechanisms. Now that is shown in this figure. So means while we are trying to speak, first our chest is going to be chest muscles, and here diaphragm, chest diaphragm and stomach muscles are going to be uh, contracted, sorry, muscles are going to be uh, expands, means a contraction force is going to be set up, and which leads to the air from lungs and which flows through the various components of that. Those are nothing but here larynx, vocal cords, pharynx, and through the mouth, that can be seen in this diagram. Now, here this steady stream of air may be looked on as a carrier of energy that must be modulated in its velocity and corresponding to produce sound. Means this whatever energy, acoustic energy, which is generated inside of our chest, diaphragm, stomach muscles, so that is in the form of a stream of air and may be looked as a carrier of energy that must be modulated in its velocity. We are trying to modulating its velocity. So during this modulation, some corresponding for the corresponding air pressure, the same sound signal is going to be generated here. So the requisite modulation is accomplished in two basic ways, leading to voice and unvoiced sounds. Voiced and humans can generate voice sounds and unvoiced sounds here. These voiced sounds include the vowels of ordinary speech as well as tone characteristics of the singing voice. So the primary modulating agent for the voice sound is the larynx, across which are stretched the vocal cords. The vocal cords are two membrane-like bands controlled by set of muscles that can both the tension and separation of folds. Means here, if you see this diagram, uh, here generally the contraction force can leads to the airflow comes out from the lungs, and first it will reaches to the lungs and reaches to the vocal cords here. So these vocal cords are nothing but here two membrane like bands. These two membrane like bands controlled by a set of muscles that can here both the tension and separation of folds. Means it as it opens and shut shut it shuts it modulated the airstream. This produces pressure waves pressure wave forms rich in harmonics. The voice mechanism also produces unvoiced sounds. These sounds arise from turbulence generated by air rushing through the vocal tracts. So this is the way this sound signal is generated and finally comes out from the mouth. So I think everybody understood how the sound is generated. Means voice is going to be produced um, from the humans. I think everybody understood. Now the next topic is uh, the nature of speech and music waves. So here, speech is nothing but speech is produced by the complex vocal process of human, a set of audible sounds produced by disturbing the air through the integrated movement of certain groups of anatomical structure. Just now we discussed so how the sound is going to be produced means this is a combined work of some anatomical structure. So this group so that can be leads to the results speech signal is going to be generated. So generally the frequency range produced by this vocal process extends from about means human ears generates a frequency range of sound signals which in the frequency range of 100 hertz to some 10 kilohertz or 10 10,000 hertz. Here the distribution in speech frequencies for average speech, including both male and female voices, are illustrated by here. So means the below figure shows here the energy distribution of speech of males and females. So this graph drawn between the frequency versus energy of that is presented in the male or females means here the frequency range starts from 0 to some
5 kilohertz or 4 kilohertz, and these are energy levels. So for lower frequencies which are having higher energies, and for higher frequencies which are having lower energies levels, so generally the physiology of speech produced may be described in terms of here either respiration or phonation or articulation. So what is mean by here all these things we will learn in the next sessions. So after that, now comes to the next topic, that is music. Here, music is nothing but music can be described as highly subjective or complex mental sensation derived from listening to a succession or combination of different sounds produced by various vibrating bodies. Means suppose if you consider a guitar, so if I in the guitar some metallic wires are going to be stretched out, so means while vibrating these metallic wires, it generates some kind of sound pressure signal. So that can be treated as a music. So that is nothing but here music can be described as highly subjective or complex mental sensation derived from listening, and these are listened from to a succession or combination of different sounds produced by various vibrating bodies. Means here these musical tones have simple harmonic structure with regulated waveforms and shapes. They consist of fundamental and harmonics of integral related frequencies, and musical acoustics involves psychological and physical laws as well as aspects and phenomena of tone production. So means here a musical sound generally having the following properties, means which are having regularity of frequency and regularity of shape, regularity of amplitude and continuity. So suppose that can these can be explained with the any one of a music instruments. Here the typical waveforms of musical instruments are shown in figure, below figure. If you see this diagram or wave, so generally this can be drawn from between this sound. This wave is generated from a flute instrument, and this wave is going to be drawn between two parameters, that is energy versus frequency. If you observe uh, this waveform, so then you can observe these all the properties, that is periodicity, regularity of frequency and regularity of shape and regularity of amplitude and continuity. See here, so the shape and the frequency um, and periodicity, amplitudes, all the properties are satisfied by these musical instruments. Suppose if you see the second type of instrument, and that is the clarinet. So if you see the vibrations of this clarinet, so here it is also drawn between energy versus frequency. The waveform of this waveform is drawn from the clarinet instrument. If you see the shape maintains a periodicity, and shape maintains here there is a regularity of frequency is presented, and regularity of shape and regularity of amplitude is also going to be presented for this instrument. uh, Now like that, all the musical instrument musics uh, can be described in that way. Now coming to the next thing, that is noise. Generally, noise is nothing but an unwanted sound signal. Here, any unwanted sound present in the environment coming out of the loudspeaker in an audio system is called as noise. Here, it is different from music. Uh, Music is different and noise is different. Music is a needed signal, whereas noise is an unwanted signal, which is interference generally combined in music. We should our main function while recording audio signal is we should eliminate these noises introduced by atmosphere or internal elements of the instruments. So means it is a different from music. Noise is it is different from music. So generally noise consists of pressure variations of a random nature without any regularity of frequency or shape and amplitude, and also without continuity. If you see the difference, just now we have seen music having the following properties, that is a it is a regularity of shape, regularity of frequency, regularity of amplitude, and periodicity maintained. But if you coming to the noise, so there is a no regularity of shape or frequency or amplitude, and continuity is going to be presented. If you see this example, so the below diagram shows the example of noise. Suppose a rustling of leaves, or several persons speaking simultaneously, or sound by traffic, or sound by machines. So consider the typical noise waveform. So that can be drawn between the frequency versus energy. If you closely observe waveform, this waveform having no particular shape, and this no waveform also not having a periodicity property, not satisfying the periodicity property, and the amplitude also having no shape, no perfect regularity, and so means the whatever properties satisfied the music all are here disobeyed in this noise. So that's why our main function we should eliminate this, and some of the noises are here given in the list here. The first one is airborne noise. What is meant by airborne noise? It is due to the fluctuation of air pressure about the mean atmospheric pressure. So generally these airborne noise are presented in the fluctuate in the air due to the fluctuation of air pressure presented in atmospheric pressure. The second one is the structural bone noise results from mechanical vibrations of elastic body from the instruments. Third one, liquid bone noise caused by the pulsating of liquid pressure about the mean static pressure. The next one is ultrasound noise range frequency greater than 20 kilohertz are called ultrasound noise frequencies, and infrasound frequency, which is ultra is nothing but greater than 20, intra is nothing but less than 20. So less than 20 also treated as noise here, 20 hertz. So these are the some sources of noise signals. I think everybody understood these things. Now, with this, I'm going to conclude the today's video lecture. I think everybody following all the topics which are covered in today video lecture. So now I am again go through the topics which are covered in this video lecture. Once again, I am going to summarize all the topics which are covered in today's video lecture. So, in today's video lecture, we discussed about in this uh, the first topic is weighted functions or weighted sound levels. So, generally, these weighted functions or weighted sound levels are mostly used for measure of environment noise. Is a weighted uh, to measure this environment noise, we define these weighted sound levels or weighting functions. So we have seen a table in this table. It gives a weighted sound level for some commonly encountered noises. After that, we studied about noise induced hearing loss. Means what happens if we listen extreme sound signals. So that can be leads to the hearing loss that can be occurred in two ways. One is the trauma, the second one is chronic. So trauma is nothing but high intensity sound such as that form of explosion or jet engine can rupture the eardrum and also damage the middle ear bones and also destroy the sensory hearing cells, finally collapse the organ. Then that can leads to the hearing loss, sudden hearing loss. Similarly, chronic is nothing but here. Suppose if we listen below the extreme levels but repeatedly, so that can also leads to the various disorders that can dysfunction or from metabolic stress on the maximally stimulated cells. So due to this, hearing loss occurs. So which is somewhat dangerous than the trauma, because in the trauma sudden hearing loss may occur, but in this we may feel pain and repeatedly we may feel pain. After that, hearing loss is going to be occurred. After that, we discuss the noise criteria. So generally, the noise criteria is nothing but the background noise that can be tolerated in audio rooms. Means while we recording or while we delivering the sound. So the if that the background noise cannot interfere with the original sound signal, then that kind of is called as noise criteria. So if background noise has no effect upon the useful sound signals, so that is called noise criteria. Uh, Now we define these noise criteria for various structures or spaces. After that, we studied the human voice producing system, how the sound signal is generated uh, from the humans. So generally, the air passes. First thing is the acoustic energy associated with the speech originates in the chest, diaphragm, and stomach muscles, which is contraction force the air from the lungs up through the various components of that can be leads to the sound signals at the final output. So this is the way the sound signal is going to be generated from our voice is going to be generated from the human body. So, with this, I hope everybody following today's lecture. So, with this, now I'm going to conclude it. Thank you. Thank you for watching today's video lecture. I hope everybody understood.